Ethan's small shuttle floated silently above the massive space station, a gleaming structure that seemed to scrape the edge of the atmosphere. He stared out of the viewport, feeling a mixture of excitement and calm determination. The station was infamous across the galaxy. Every student who trained here was said to be the most dangerous, most skilled, and most ruthless fighter in their class. And today, he would enter the one class that no human had ever survived, the Crimson Valkyries. The name alone carried fear. Crimson Valkyries. It was whispered by recruits across the galaxy like a warning, a name that promised challenge, danger, and humiliation for anyone who dared step into their domain. And now, a human boy was about to do exactly that. Ethan adjusted the strap of his small backpack. Inside it, he carried nothing extraordinary, just a few personal items, a notebook and a small survival kit. He didn't need weapons yet. What he had, he believed, was more important: his mind, his instincts, and strangely, his smile. When he stepped out of the shuttle, the station's corridors were quiet but alive with tension. Students from other classes moved quickly, some glancing curiously at him. Humans were rare here, almost legendary, and the idea of a boy joining the deadliest class in the galaxy made a few stop mid-step. Ethan ignored them. He focused only on the hallway ahead, the door to the classroom, and the challenge waiting behind it. The classroom itself was enormous, but it was not like any ordinary room. Walls shimmered with holographic displays, projecting moving obstacles, attack drones, and simulated enemies. Platforms floated in midair, each hovering at different heights and speeds, forcing constant movement. There were weapon racks with everything from laser swords to plasma rifles. A zero-gravity chamber waited on one side, and an area filled with traps, pressure plates, and hidden dangers stretched across the floor. Ethan's first step into the room drew immediate attention. Every pair of eyes in the class focused on him. There were 15 girls, all older than him, all trained for years in lethal combat, and each one seemed to radiate danger like a weapon drawn in his direction. They were fast, tall, and fierce, with movements precise enough to make trained soldiers nervous. The smallest one, barely taller than Ethan, carried twin daggers that glinted even in the soft lights of the classroom. "Who's this human?" someone hissed, her voice sharp and cutting. A girl with bright red hair and cybernetic enhancement stepped forward. Her eyes narrowed. "Do they even let humans in here? This has to be a joke." Ethan didn't flinch, he smiled. It was not a nervous smile. It was calm, steady, the kind of smile that suggested he knew something the others did not. It unsettled the girls immediately. In this class, fear was expected, not confidence. The instructor, a tall figure in a dark uniform, clapped once sharply. "This is Ethan," she announced. "He is assigned to the Crimson Valkyries. You will treat him as one of your own until he proves otherwise." The girls exchanged skeptical glances, whispers running like electricity through the room. Some laughed quietly, imagining how quickly they would break this human boy. Others studied him, eyes scanning for weakness, any sign that would confirm their expectations, that he would falter, that he would fail. The first test began almost immediately. A small drone buzzed past the students' heads, emitting a low hum and a trail of laser sparks. It was a simple exercise meant to test reflexes and awareness. One of the girls, tall and lean, lunged at Ethan with a short energy blade, aiming to strike him in the shoulder. Most students would have panicked. They would have dodged awkwardly or tried to retaliate in a clumsy, desperate way. But Ethan moved differently. His body shifted smoothly, his feet finding the right balance without hesitation. The girl's blade missed him entirely. He barely moved, yet he was already on the other side of the platform, calm, collected, and still smiling. A murmur ran through the class. This was unexpected. They had trained for years to deal with human unpredictability, expecting fear, flinching, and mistakes. Instead, this boy acted almost like a predator, or maybe a puzzle they couldn't solve. Kayla, the leader of the group, watched him closely. Her movements were precise, her expression calculating. She was used to being in control, used to predicting her classmates' every move. Ethan did not move predictably. He smiled, he dodged, and he observed. That smile, calm, fearless, was unnerving. She decided then that he would be interesting to watch, even if he did not belong here. The instructor raised a hand, signaling the start of the first major trial. The holographic platforms shifted, rising and lowering, spinning slowly. A series of small drones activated, weaving through the air like living obstacles. The girls were to navigate the platforms, defeat the drones, and reach the far end without falling or being struck. Ethan stepped onto the first platform, feeling it vibrate beneath his weight. The air was tense. The girls around him moved like seasoned predators, flipping, spinning, and striking drones with precision. A few of them looked back, surprised to see that Ethan followed without hesitation. A girl with short silver hair swung a plasma whip at him, expecting to knock him off balance. Ethan jumped just in time, rolling across the platform with grace he had not yet displayed, and landed lightly. He smiled at her. "Good try," he said, almost cheerfully. The other girls froze. Who spoke to her with that tone? Who could remain so calm in the middle of a deadly exercise? By the end of the trial, Ethan had not only survived but had completed it slightly faster than some of the other girls. Not the best, not yet, but fast enough to make a statement. The room was filled with a new energy. Respect mixed with disbelief. They had expected fear, but they got something else, a human boy who was calm, clever, and capable. After the trial, the girls gathered around him. Some were curious, some skeptical, and some hostile. Kayla approached slowly, studying him. "You're different," she said, not a question but a statement. "Humans are fragile, you should be afraid." "I'm not," Ethan replied simply, smiling. "I like challenges." The words were simple, but the confidence behind them was unusual enough to create silence. The girls exchanged glances. No one spoke for a long moment. In this class, arrogance or overconfidence was dangerous. Many students had been injured, some expelled, some worse, for stepping out of line. Yet Ethan's calm demeanor suggested he didn't just understand the danger, he welcomed it. The instructor finally stepped in. "Enough. This is only the beginning. You will face trials that test everything: speed, strength, intelligence, teamwork, and survival instincts. Remember, the Crimson Valkyries are not a class you simply pass. You earn the right to be here." The girls muttered among themselves. Some were intrigued, some annoyed, and some still planned to eliminate him quietly, using the next training session to see if his luck would run out. Ethan, however, remained undaunted. He watched the room carefully, noting the patterns of the girls, the way the drones moved, and the subtle shifts in the floating platforms. Unlike them, he did not see the environment as a battlefield only. He saw it as a puzzle, a game, and an opportunity to prove something, not just that he could survive, but that humans could stand alongside the best fighters in the galaxy. As the day ended, the girls returned to their quarters, still whispering about him. Kayla lingered for a moment, studying him from a distance. She noticed the way he moved, the way he smiled in the middle of danger, and the way he seemed to think 2 steps ahead of everyone else. Ethan did not boast. He did not show off. He simply smiled and walked to his own quarters, ready for the next challenge. He knew that survival in this class would not come from brute strength alone. It would come from wit, patience, observation, and the kind of unpredictability that could shake even the most disciplined fighters. In the quiet of his room, he looked at the view outside. Stars stretched endlessly, and the station hummed with life. Tomorrow would bring more trials, more dangers, and more challenges. But Ethan felt ready. A human boy in the deadliest class in the galaxy was not just surviving. He was learning, observing, and already making an impact that the Crimson Valkyries had never expected. And he smiled because he knew something the girls did not. Danger was only part of the game. Confidence, cleverness, and calm could change everything, even in the most dangerous class in the galaxy. The next morning, the classroom was alive with energy. The Crimson Valkyries had recovered from yesterday's surprise, and the girls were eager to see how Ethan would handle the real tests. Today would be harder, more dangerous. The instructor had prepared challenges designed to push them to the limits, and now a human boy was among them. Ethan entered the room calmly, as if he belonged. His small size gave him an advantage in certain ways. He could slip through tight spaces, move under obstacles, and react quickly to attacks that others might miss. The girls, however, had years of training. They were fast, precise, and deadly. Many had learned to anticipate each other's movements, but Ethan was unpredictable. That would be his strength. The instructor spoke clearly, her voice echoing in the large room. Today, you will navigate the Hall of Shadows. It is a zero-gravity simulation filled with traps, moving platforms, and hostile drones. Your objective is to reach the center platform and activate the beacon. You may face ambushes from your classmates. Only the clever and careful will survive. The girl's eyes sparkled with excitement. The Hall of Shadows was infamous. Many had failed, falling off platforms or being eliminated by the simulated dangers. Some had even been injured attempting it. It was the ultimate test of strategy, reflexes, and teamwork, or solitary skill. Ethan stepped into the zero-gravity chamber without hesitation. His movements were deliberate, each push against the walls precise. He floated upward, avoiding spinning platforms and buzzing drones. The first girl, a tall blonde with glowing eyes, swung a whip designed to wrap around him. He twisted in midair, narrowly avoiding it, and then used a small kick to push off a nearby panel, landing lightly on a moving platform. The others watched closely. Some were curious, some annoyed, and some, like Kayla, were impressed. Kayla floated nearby, her eyes sharp, analyzing his every move. He's thinking, not just reacting, she whispered to herself. That's dangerous. No one here moves like that. Ethan smiled slightly, aware of the attention but not distracted by it. His strategy was simple: observe, anticipate, and act. Each girl had a pattern, a tendency, a favorite maneuver. By noticing these small details, he could predict their attacks, even in zero gravity. A silver-haired girl tried to catch him off guard by swinging from a platform above. Ethan ducked and spun, using the momentum to push off her arm without touching her, sending himself toward a floating panel with perfect balance. His calm smile never wavered. The girls whispered among themselves. This was not luck. This was skill and something they had never seen in a human. The first part of the Hall of Shadows was treacherous but manageable. Ethan's movements were graceful, efficient, and precise. He avoided drones, dodged traps, and stayed ahead of the girls who tried to block his path. But the real challenge awaited at the center: a series of rotating laser grids guarding the beacon. Many students had failed here before, getting trapped or knocked off platforms. Kayla decided to test him directly. She pushed off a platform, spinning toward him with a laser dagger in hand. Ethan saw her coming and smiled, twisting midair. He extended a hand toward a nearby console, activating a temporary shield that diverted the laser energy just as she struck. The shield flickered and went down, but Ethan had already used the momentum to push toward the next platform. The other girls were stunned. No human had ever used technology so efficiently in the middle of a simulation. They had relied on brute skill, on experience, on predictable patterns. Ethan was different. He used observation, cleverness, and improvisation. A small group of girls tried to corner him near the beacon. They coordinated, expecting him to panic, to make a mistake, to fall into their trap. Ethan smiled. He didn't panic. He didn't struggle. Instead, he floated calmly, studying their movements. Then, with perfect timing, he twisted, kicked off a nearby platform, and landed behind them. Using a small tether from his pack, he hooked it to the nearest rail and swung past them, activating the beacon. The room erupted in whispered amazement. Ethan had not only survived the Hall of Shadows, but had completed it faster than most of the girls. More importantly, he had done it with a level of calm and precision that no one expected. Kayla floated to him afterward, her expression unreadable. "You're lucky," she said flatly. "Most humans would have panicked and been eliminated within the first minute." Ethan shook his head. "Not luck, observation and thinking ahead." She studied him for a moment longer, then nodded slowly. "Interesting. I underestimated you." The instructor entered next, raising an eyebrow at the human boy who had survived the trial. "This is only the beginning. You will face more than simulations. You will face teamwork challenges, strategic combat, and real danger. Today, you survived the Hall of Shadows. Tomorrow, you will see if you can survive with allies or enemies at your side." Ethan listened carefully. He knew that earning respect in this class would not come from surviving simulations alone. The girls were skilled and proud. Many had no interest in humans, considering them weak and unpredictable in the wrong way. But he had a plan. He would show them that humans could be clever, quick, and surprisingly strong in situations they did not expect. The next trial began in the combat arena. This time, it was not just a simulation. The girls were armed with plasma rifles and energy blades. The objective was to capture the flag on the opposite side of the arena. Ethan entered calmly, observing the positions of each girl. Unlike most human students, he did not rush forward. He waited, thinking, calculating the safest path while also identifying weaknesses in their formations. The first attack came quickly. A girl lunged from above, slashing with twin daggers. Ethan ducked, rolled, and used the low wall of the arena for cover. He glanced at another girl advancing from the left. With a small, precise throw of a makeshift device from his pack, he created a distraction, drawing her away just long enough to move toward the flag. The girls were shocked. They had never encountered someone who could think so quickly under pressure, combining observation, tactics, and clever improvisation. Some began to whisper among themselves, realizing that he might be more than just a human who survived. They might have a competitor they could not predict. Kayla moved strategically, trying to corner him near the flag. "You're clever, human," she said, floating above him. "But cleverness can only go so far." Ethan smiled, never losing calm. "I hope cleverness is enough." Using a combination of agility and quick thinking, he dodged her attack, tapped the flag, and swung toward a safe platform. The girls tried to stop him, but each move he made seemed calculated, precise, and impossible to anticipate. By the end of the trial, Ethan had captured the flag without injury. The room was filled with a mix of awe, curiosity, and grudging respect. He had survived challenges that even the best of them struggled with. More importantly, he had done it without showing fear, anger, or arrogance, just calm focus and his unusual human smile. Later, during the debrief, Kayla approached him again. "You're not what we expected," she said quietly. "Most humans would have broken down in the first hour. You're different," Ethan smiled. "I just try to stay calm, and I like to observe. That helps more than strength." A few other girls had gathered around, listening. Some nodded subtly, others crossed their arms but did not interrupt. Slowly, a small shift was happening. The girls were beginning to see him not as a weak human, but as someone unpredictable, clever, and capable. By the end of the day, Ethan was exhausted but exhilarated. He had survived simulations, zero-gravity challenges, and combat trials. The girls, once hostile, were now watching him with a mix of curiosity and respect. Kayla had even smiled slightly, an almost invisible acknowledgement that he had earned her attention. Ethan returned to his quarters that night, thinking about the day's events. He knew the real challenge was not just surviving the class. It was earning their respect, learning their patterns, and proving that humans were capable of more than anyone imagined. He looked out at the stars, the space station humming with energy around him. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more danger, and more tests, but he felt ready. The human boy in the most dangerous class in the galaxy had survived day one. He had faced girls who were faster, stronger, and more lethal than he had ever imagined, and he had done it with intelligence, calm, and a smile. And he knew that the hardest part was yet to come. The following morning, the atmosphere in the classroom was tense. Rumors had spread through the station like wildfire. A human boy had survived the Hall of Shadows, captured the flag in combat, and faced challenges that would have broken most seasoned students. Some of the girls were impressed, some wary, and some still planning to test him further. But today, the final trial would push everyone to their limits. The instructor entered the room, her expression serious. Today, the Crimson Valkyries will face the ultimate challenge. This is not a simulation. External threats are incoming. You will defend the station from a group of rogue mercenaries attempting to breach our defenses. This will test your combat skills, strategy, teamwork, and ability to adapt under pressure. Humans have never participated before. You will learn quickly if you can survive with them or against them. Ethan's eyes lit up. This was no ordinary trial. This was real danger, and he thrived on challenge. He had spent days observing the girls, learning their patterns, understanding their strengths and weaknesses. Now, it would be a test of strategy, courage, and human ingenuity against a real threat. The girls prepared immediately, drawing weapons, checking their armor, and positioning themselves across the station's defense points. Kayla approached Ethan. "You're going to need to follow my lead," she said firmly. "This isn't a simulation. One mistake and it's over." Ethan nodded calmly. "I'll do my best, but I think we can do better than just follow. We can think differently." Kayla studied him carefully, then shrugged. "Fine, let's see what you can do." The alarms blared and red lights flashed across the station. A group of heavily armed mercenaries had breached the outer docking bay. They were fast, organized, and ruthless. Most students would panic, reacting only to immediate threats, but Ethan kept his calm. He quickly analyzed the layout, the positions of his classmates, and the possible paths of the attackers. Kayla assigned teams to hold key points. Ethan noticed a gap in their coverage, a small corridor that the mercenaries could use to bypass the defenses. Without hesitation, he moved to intercept, using his small size and agility to navigate tight spaces where larger students could not. The first mercenary appeared, weapon raised. Ethan ducked just in time, rolling behind a console, and used a loose panel as a makeshift weapon to knock the attacker off balance. The mercenary stumbled, giving Kayla and her team time to eliminate the threat. The girls exchanged surprised glances. The human boy had just saved them, not by strength alone, but by quick thinking. The battle escalated quickly. Mercenaries moved in groups, coordinated and aggressive. The girls relied on years of training, but Ethan's unpredictability changed the dynamic. He created distractions, improvised traps, and guided teammates to positions they had overlooked. At one point, a powerful mercenary advanced toward Kayla. She prepared to strike but hesitated, caught off guard by his unexpected approach. Ethan acted instantly. He grabbed a nearby harness, swung himself into the attacker's path, and used a precise push to send him off balance. Kayla took advantage, neutralizing the threat. She glanced at Ethan, her expression a mix of surprise and respect. Other girls began noticing his effectiveness. His calm demeanor, intelligence, and courage in the face of real danger inspired them. Slowly, the initial hostility faded, replaced by a sense of admiration and curiosity. They had underestimated humans, and Ethan had proven that humans could be clever, fast, and resilient in ways they had never considered. The battle moved through the station. Mercenaries breached corridors, but Ethan anticipated their movements, guiding his classmates to intercept them. He used simple but effective tactics, leading attackers into tight spaces, using obstacles for advantage, and coordinating multiple teammates simultaneously. The girls followed his instructions with trust growing in every step. Kayla moved beside him during a critical moment, watching as he deflected a plasma blast with a precise kick against a metal beam. "I didn't think humans could move like that," she admitted, slightly breathless. "I told you," Ethan said with a calm smile. "We just think differently." As they progressed, one group of mercenaries attempted to flank the students from an upper platform. Most would have panicked. Ethan acted immediately. He grabbed a small control panel and activated a temporary force field, forcing the attackers to change course. Then he signaled two girls to push movable panels into the corridor, creating a trap. When the mercenaries advanced, they were funneled into a narrow space where Kayla and her team neutralized them with ease. By mid-battle, the students had learned to rely on him. His human creativity, calm under pressure, and ability to adapt quickly complemented their combat training perfectly. The girls, once skeptical and hostile, now trusted his decisions implicitly. Even the most stubborn students followed his lead, impressed by his ability to think ahead in situations where speed and strategy mattered more than raw strength. Finally, the leader of the mercenaries appeared, a tall, heavily armored figure with advanced weapons and unmatched combat skills. The girls hesitated. Most had never faced someone like him before. Kayla stepped forward, ready to engage, but Ethan acted first. He studied the leader's movements, noticing patterns and subtle tells. With a precise maneuver, he dodged the first attack, guiding the leader toward a corridor lined with automated defenses. The leader, confident in his strength, followed, unaware of the trap Ethan had set. When he reached the corridor, automated turrets activated, forcing him into a position where Kayla could strike effectively. The leader fell, defeated not by raw power but by human strategy and teamwork. The battle ended. The station was safe, the mercenaries neutralized, and the students exhausted but victorious. The Crimson Valkyries had faced real danger, and a human boy had led them to success. The classroom was silent for a moment. Then Kayla approached Ethan. "I misjudged you," she said softly. "I thought humans were weak. I thought you would falter, but you're remarkable." Ethan smiled, the same calm, reassuring smile he had carried through every challenge. "Thank you. I just do my best and think ahead." "That's all any human can do." Other girls gathered around, nodding and murmuring their agreement. Some offered subtle smiles of respect. The class that had once been hostile, cold, and intimidating now looked at him differently. He had not only survived but had proven that humans could be clever, courageous, and dependable, even in the most dangerous situations in the galaxy. Later, during the debriefing, the instructor spoke. "Ethan has demonstrated qualities beyond physical skill. Strategy, adaptability, calm under pressure, and the ability to inspire teamwork are rare in any student. Today, he has earned his place in the Crimson Valkyries. Humans are often underestimated, but he has shown why they should never be ignored." Ethan listened quietly. He did not boast, he simply nodded. Inside, he felt proud but focused. He knew that challenges would continue, that danger was always near in the galaxy, and that he would need to keep learning. But for today, he had proven himself. That evening, the girls gathered in the common area. The atmosphere was lighter than it had been before. Some of them smiled, teasing each other about their initial doubts. Kayla sat across from Ethan, a small smirk on her face. "I still don't understand how you do it," she said. "You're small, human, and yet you lead us when we all thought you were the one to survive." "How?" Ethan shrugged lightly. "I just pay attention, stay calm, and try to see things differently. That's all. Humans are good at thinking in ways others don't expect." Kayla studied him, then nodded slowly. "You're not just surviving, you're changing the class. We respect that." Ethan smiled. He had not only survived but had begun to earn the trust and admiration of the most dangerous girls in the galaxy. They had learned something important too, that humans, small and seemingly fragile, could possess courage, cleverness, and resilience beyond what anyone imagined. The Crimson Valkyries were no longer just a dangerous class. They were a team, and he was a part of it. Not because of brute strength or fear, but because of his mind, his calm, and his willingness to face danger with a smile. As he looked out at the stars from the station's observation deck, Ethan knew that the galaxy was full of challenges, dangers, and unknown threats. But he also knew something else. Humans could face the impossible, adapt, and succeed. And with that thought, he smiled once more, ready for whatever the future held, knowing he had proven himself in the deadliest class in the galaxy.